Hello. My name is Corey Hesser, and I'm one of the program developers at Kirkwood Corporate Training. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your day and joining us for our November webinar, and it is the last one of 2022. Joining us today are John and Kathy Rotz, who will be discussing the topic of improving your culture by connecting, not communicating. I always enjoy sharing some fun facts about our presenters so you can connect just a little bit more. So some fun facts about John and Kathy. John was a ghost player with Field of Dreams. Kathy started her training career in high school as a ski instructor. And some fun facts together, since we have our dynamic duo today. John and Kathy were college sweethearts. They were both pilots in their younger years. They flew small single-engine airplanes. They also have 3 grown kids and 2 fur babies, Oski and Simba, who are their feisty golden retriever puppies. All right, so as John Maxwell says, culture eats vision for lunch. More needs to happen among the people to improve overall culture, and John and Katie will now share their expertise on this topic. John and Kathy, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and hand it on over to you.
Thank you. It is our pleasure. This is going to be a very fun topic here today. So we're going to share our screen. We're going to be watching a video here in a little bit as well, but let's just start by talking about how to improve your culture by connecting, not communicating.
So I'm a seasoned person, as you probably can see. And growing up, there was a movie called Smokey and the Bandit. And in the movie Smokey and the Bandit, there was a song from Jerry Reed, who was also in the movie. And he would say, "We got a long way to go and a short time to get there." This is perfect for this topic because we're going to talk about several different topics at a very high level, kind of to seed some interest in some of these things, but also to give you meat as we go about such an important topic. And I was sharing with Corey offline that this is kind of a tough topic to share because in doing so, the speaker has to connect with the audience.
This is tough today.
It is tough because I can't see your guys' faces, but I'm sure you're out there because our chat does say that you guys are out there. But it's so important, and we're going to try to share a foundation of why connecting is so much more important than communicating. And so we're going to go in and we're going to talk about our agenda today is why is this important? Why we need to focus on us, which is the one thing we can control is us. And then how not only it focuses or it impacts our audience, but how can we focus, how can we address, how can we translate what we see in our audience? And then finally, we're going to land the plane with some applications and best practices. This is great information, John and Kathy, but how can I move the needle in connecting with our audience?
Yeah, and like John said, we're gonna talk about a lot of things, give you a lot of tools, hopefully that you can use today. But sorry, spoiler alert, we are going to leave you hanging a little bit too, because we only have 30 minutes. So let's jump right in.
It's kind of our job.
That's what we do. All right, why is connecting important?
So as a baseline, let's just talk about what is connecting. And connecting is the ability to identify with people and relate to them in a way that increases your influence with them. Remember, leaders, and I'm assuming that's who we're talking about today or talking to today as leaders. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so when we can increase our influence, we can increase the dynamic of our leadership. And so truly it is about connecting. And I want to start off a little bit about a story. I want to share a story with you.
Well, hold on. Can I share a statistic first?
No.
I love numbers.
No.
I love numbers. And this is what is
She's a numbers person.
This is what's so dynamic and so interesting here is that 87% of our success is related to personal interactions. That's connecting. This is why. This is part of the why this is so important. Only 13% of our success in life is related to our technical skills. In other words, only 13% of your success is related to that college degree you're still paying debt on.
Now, when we're live in person, we always hand out BS cards because this statistic is really hard to understand or at least to accept. 13% is based on my success, my financial success is what I know. Well, think about this. When you're talking in whatever way communicating, if information was all that's important, all we would need is Google.
Yeah, right. That's so true. We don't even need college degrees anymore.
That we really believe that if someone is to buy our message, they first have to buy the messenger.
Yeah.
And that's you.
Yeah.
And there's cadence like everything else on how we can connect better with our audience.
Well, we can really teach people though, the technical skills. We really, and actually 25 years ago, when I was hired in one of my jobs, my boss said, I'm hiring for attitude. I can teach aptitude. We can teach technical skills if somebody really wants to learn it, but not always that personal interaction skills. It's learnable, but if somebody really is trying, they're going to have to put some focus in that.
I once heard someone say that attitude transfers.
Ooh,
Which means if I hire someone with a great attitude and I put them in this position here, maybe their competency doesn't transfer, but their attitude will.
you're right.
And we can teach, as you said, anyone anything. So really, it's about the ability to connect with your audience.
You have to step up when you've got this under your belt.
Absolutely. So,
Okay.
funny story. This was several years ago. My son works second shift, and we'll connect as I'm getting ready to go to work. He's finally putting his Game Boy away or whatever game system he was on, and going to bed for the day. And I said, hey, Jake, what are you doing for lunch? He's like, I was going to make some spaghetti. I'm like, that is such a good idea. If you could make and leave half for me. So when I get home, lunch is already made. I think you were on the road at the time. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, perfect. So went through the day as quitting time came close. I thought, oh man, this is going to be sweet. I get home, I don't have to make lunch or dinner, and it's all going to be done for me. So I get home, I go to the refrigerator, and in the refrigerator, we get bricks, like 1 pound bricks of hamburger, right? I see that brick of hamburger cut in half. Raw,
Okay.
cut in half. I thought, what? So then I went to the cabinet, pulled out the noodles, and guess what? Sure enough, I saw half of the uncooked noodles still in the box. I thought, no way. So I went back to the refrigerator, and sure enough, the jar of ragu or prego or whatever was half empty. What happened? My son heard me say, save half for me when I get home. That's exactly what he did.
And that's yeah. So he did just left you half uncooked spaghetti.
And in his mind, and Jake is a really smart kid. In his mind, he did exactly what I said. He was a very, very literal worker.
Mhm.
Now, can I get angry because I assumed I was able to connect with him on the point that I wanted to make?
Yeah.
Absolutely not, because here's the thing. And this is one thing that I remind myself all the time when it comes time to present. Success in communication, or in this case, connecting, cannot be determined by the person speaking.
Oh.
It can only be determined by the person hearing. Case in point, at the end of this half hour together, I'll walk out of our studio and I think, I crushed it. This was awesome. I knocked the ball out of the ballpark. And you guys are sitting there thinking, who the heck is this guy? He spit sentence fragments and I don't understand what he said. Who gets to determine the success of our time together?
You're right.
It's you.
You're right. It's the listener. It's the one who heard you talk. Okay, so I got another story.
Okay,
You got me
yes.
thinking now.
Yes.
Okay, so remember that time that we took a trip? We were going on vacation. I think it was to Scottsdale, Arizona. And we got on the airplane. By the way, when I travel for fun, I always have a good book. I really don't read fiction books but once a year. So I had a really good book. I was totally into it. We had back row seats on the airplane, just us two in this whole row of 6. I crawl in by the window with my book and I'm there. I'm so absorbed. I don't even remember taking off. And at one point, John was invited to move over to the other side because there were 6 seats and only 2 of us. So he got his whole 3 and I got my whole 3. And then at another point, he threw something at me. So I buried my head out of the book and I look, and next to him on the seat is a pile of snacks. Like, did you break the bank buying all the snacks?
I mean, so this was back when you got a box, right, of snacks. And I had multiple boxes of snacks. Now, she wouldn't know this because her nose was in the book the entire time. What happened?
So what I learned very quickly is the flight attendants loved my husband. Well, of course they do. He's a connector and he's chit-chatting with them, small talking, not reading a book. He's just totally creating a relationship. And they fell in love with him and just gave him whatever he wanted. And I got nothing, including the glass of ice water that I asked for. Never got actually, I may have gotten a glass of ice, but never the water.
Yes.
I'm with him and I'm not even getting the benefits that he created through connecting.
And they even offered, would you like something to drink? And she kind of nodded at me, would you like something to drink? And I said, no, I'm good, but thank you so much for this. Well, what happened? I travel with Starbucks gift cards. That, by the way, that's one of the number one things that flight attendants, I learned on that flight, not stewardesses, flight attendants, they enjoy it because every place got a Starbucks. So I look for opportunities to give a $5 Starbucks card away. And they were so friendly and hospitable. I gave a couple of them. And from that point on, it was just, they couldn't walk by without like almost sitting down and just talking because they just engaged. And it was so nice. And it was absolutely wonderful. Now, I didn't engage to get all those snacks, but we thought after the flight, we sat there and we talked about what transpired there.
Yeah.
It was just about connecting with our audience where they are.
I read a really good book, but I was very thirsty and, had no relationship. And meanwhile, you've got email addresses and lots of goodies in your seat.
And here's the difference is that when I set out on a journey, and since then, you've really done a great job connecting.
Thank you.
It's intentional. It's an intentionality that when you leave the house, how intentional are you? And how important is it, honestly, candidly, to you wanting to connect with your audience? And in this case today, our team or our clients.
I gotta be honest with you though. There's times where, for example, when I'm traveling on vacation, I just want to be in my world. It's exhausting to connect with people all the time, but you really can't turn it off. You really shouldn't turn it off. We really should have that connection on all the time because you just never know when it's needed.
We found out on this trip, and thank you for that story, but I want to bring it into a relevant point here. You can't be aware of something until you're first made aware of something.
Yep.
And that's really kind of what we want to do today is just make you aware of the importance of connecting. Because once you become aware of your blind spot, and in this case, you love reading a book, well, that's good. When you say yes to this, you're saying no to what's going on out there.
Yep.
When you at work, you're stuck in a position as a leader, your head is down. And I know we live in a world that has to produce. When our focus is there all day long, we're saying yes to that. We're not saying yes out there.
To people.
To people. Exactly. To the audience, to our family, to our friends, to whatever it is. So we really have to be intentional on where we're going. Think about this. You have two candidates trying to vie for one position, and they have identical resumes, and you interview both of them, and everything on paper is almost identical. What's the deciding factor there?
Their attitude, their personality, the connection.
How I felt this person. It felt like I knew them my whole life, or there was just something about them that just didn't settle. It was their ability to connect with you. It could be the difference between getting a job or not.
So real quickly, the difference between connecting and communicating. John communicated with our son Jacob, but did not connect.
Yeah. Right.
John connected with the flight attendant, and it shows by what he received.
Or by what you did.
Or what I did not
Yes.
receive.
Yes.
Okay, so connecting while focusing on you.
Yes.
Yourself.
Absolutely. So the one thing we got to realize, and this is such a parochial statement, but it still lends to share. Our audience may not be like us.
They're not like us.
They're not like us. But how often do we communicate in the way that we're used to communicating that might not resonate with that audience? This is part of the connecting, and we call it in the training world, going to their quadrant. What's the number one language spoken in business today?
Chinese.
No.
English.
No.
Spanish.
No. It doesn't matter what you say, no.
Body language.
It's the audience, or it's the language of our audience. And the quicker we can navigate our communication to speak their language, no longer are we connecting or communicating, but now we're connecting. And it's just a focus. And thank goodness it doesn't require being a rocket scientist or a doctor. It's just observing. It's about being aware. Remember, you can't be aware of something until you're first made aware of something.
So bottom line, people don't see things the way we see it. People don't see things through our lenses or through our experiences. That's why we need to connect and see where they're at and adjust our communication skills.
In a couple slides, we're going to illustrate a point that you don't see things for the way they are. You see things for the way you are, because we've got all these pre-programs in our brains. The way we were brought up, just as though this is normal for me to think this way. So yes, that's absolutely right. People don't see things the way you see them, right?
Yeah.
But they also don't necessarily understand things at your depth. So you've been coaching for a long time, and I think that that's one of your superpowers, is the ability to coach.
Mhm.
And if you share some of your mindsets to a person who's just being introduced to coaching, you're going to be talking over their heads.
Yeah.
It's natural to you in verbiage that you use all the time in your inner circle. But you got to remember, other people don't always see things at your depth.
I remember I was at a leadership conference and the word up level was said often. And even the speaker was one-on-one with me and said, you need to up level. And I finally just stopped. I said, what does that even mean? I've never heard this before. And he explained, to increase your opportunities, to just up level your wherever you're at in life. And I had to ask, but it's so second nature to us. How much of our lingo do people not ask because we don't want to feel stupid? We want to Google it or figure it out later, but they're not asking. And meanwhile, they're not really listening either because they just got lost on that word.
We call it red language. We use red language because we want to sound intelligent. We want to articulate how much we know. And sometimes it's at the detriment of being able to connect with our audience. And
Yep.
They're lost.
Yep.
Why do we use so many acronyms without referencing what the acronym first stood for? And so we do that a lot and we don't think about it. Again, we're speaking from our quadrant and expecting them to come to us. Now, finally, the last point I want to make on focusing on ourselves is not everyone moves at your speed.
Oh, especially your speed, man.
Now I share this because I'm convicted from this. Every monitor, I'm in the studio, but in my office and in multiple offices, I have a post-it note taped to my monitor that says, slow down.
Yeah.
I talk fast.
Because you're excited, you're passionate, this is your world, but we can't keep up.
And our audience, this might be the first time they've ever heard of this thing. And if I'm sharing, because I've done this 100 times, and I'm talking like this because I love it and I'm passionate, I'm doing it at the detriment of teaching my audience. So you'll probably, if you've noticed and you're observant, when I pause or when Kathy pauses, I'll come back into the conversation at a slower pace. What am I doing? Internally, I'm reminding myself, John, slow down.
You're not the only one. Every one of you who are joining in today, myself included, Corey included, when we know something, when we're passionate, when we're excited, when we want to make sure you get everything possible that we want to give, we do speed up.
Yeah.
And our passion shows. So nobody's exempt from this.
Even when we get nervous.
Yes.
When you're nervous, one, we talk way too much. Two, we talk very fast. And so it's a natural human thing, not a personal issue, right? So that's connecting while focusing on you. Now let's look at focusing on the audience. Now remember, the audience could be our family. And that's what's so powerful about this is holistic. This isn't going to only make you a better professional. It's going to make you a better husband, child, son, daughter, whatever it is, spouse. So we need to look at our audience because truly, as that picture, this is my theme. This is my mantra right here. Everything speaks. Everything speaks. Because again, going back to something I said earlier, we don't see things for the way they are. We see things for the way we are. Mm-hmm. That our personalities determine our perspective of the world. Personality, our own personal reality. Ooh. Determines how we see things. Not just what we say, but what we think, right? So before we go to the next thing, I just want to share everything speaks. And we got this from the Disney customer service experience where underground, the whole tunnel system underground, there's a huge sign. I'd love to say I created this, but I didn't. I stole it from Disney. That reminds the cast members as they're prepping to go up, everything speaks. Now, did you know a street cleaner at Disney still goes through a 2-week new hire orientation and doesn't touch a machine until the 3rd day? Because what are they doing? They're learning about everything speaking. their mannerisms, their smile, everything. Because if you're lost in the park, you're not going to go look for like an information center. You're going to find an employee, maybe a custodian, whatever it may be. So they learn that everything speaks.
So when we're connecting with people, everything is speaking. The fact that my nose was in a book is speaking. Whether it's saying, hey, she's rude or she's grumpy, nothing that might be true, it's still speaking.
Folks, everything speaks.
What about that video? Can we share the video?
Yes, I love it. Absolutely. So this is what we call the Sheldon effect. And this kind of goes back to one of our first slides that said 87% of your financial success is predicated on what you or your ability to communicate with someone. Think about Sheldon
From the Big Bang Theory.
From the Big Bang Theory. No one in the room is smarter than Sheldon.
We're going to see it.
But if you're not mindful, this is what happens.
Yeah, you guys never use that space up there. Why not get a table?
Do you want the long answer or the short answer?
Hey, how come we never get that option?
Chaos theory suggests that even in a deterministic system, if the equations describing its behavior are nonlinear, a tiny change in the initial conditions can lead to a cataclysmic and unpredictable result.
Translation?
I don't want a table.
So we can laugh, but truly, if we're going to get transparent, we've been there. We've been there. And in our profession, we want to come across professional and knowledgeable, but it takes a little bit of intentionality to realize, you know what, the audience is learning this at a basic level. And so slow down, use smaller words. Do you know that the most advantageous grade level of communication is the 3rd and 4th grade?
That's what we need to write to and speak to is a 3rd and 4th grade level. And it's not to demean anything. It's not to make people feel inadequate. It's just the reality that we need to keep this in mind.
Apple does a fantastic job marketing, and whether you like them or not, at a 3rd to 4th grade level. And when you listen to it, there's not big words. There's not anything. When the MP3 came out, no one understood what it was from the illustration, versus Apple, when they first introduced the iPod, it said 10,000 songs in your pocket.
Oh, I get what that means.
Very simple. You understand that. So
Very
you don't
good.
see things for the way they are. We see things for the way we are. I want to show you a picture, and I'd love you to share with me, what do you see in a moment?
Okay, real quick. I saw the message where you guys could hear the video, but not see it. So we'll include that link in the email that everyone will receive after today's webinar so that you can watch the full effect.
Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Yes. Okay, so next image. There we go.
All right. Now, if we were in class together, I would ask you to yell out, what do you see?
I see an old lady.
You see an old lady. Is that the only thing you see as an old lady?
I also see a young lady.
How many of you see an old lady? Virtually raise your hand that I can't see.
So I just did this in class last week, and it's amazing because there's always one or two that only see one of the ladies, and it drives you crazy when you can't see both. It's okay. It's okay if you can't see both, but usually there's one dominating image within the dual image.
So if you can see the mouse, here's the old lady's eyes and her wrinkles and her mouth and her nose and maybe a mole on her nose, right? Her bonnet. The young lady has got her back kind of toward us, but you can still see her profile. Here's her petite little
That
nose.
mole on the nose is actually the young lady's nose.
Yeah, here's her chin, maybe a necklace here. They're both right in the same picture.
Yeah.
An old lady and a young lady. So regardless of which one you saw, let me ask you something. Who's right? Which one's truth? And inevitably, they both are. It's just what's programmed in you. What do you see? We see things for the way we are, not for the way they are. So like everything that we talk about, we bring in behaviors because it really is who we are.
Yeah.
I would love for you to just talk a little bit about our behaviors.
Okay, so this is a whole session in itself, but I do want to just talk really quickly about each different behavioral style that's out there. We have a way that we speak. We have words or questions that we like to ask. So the top portion, the D and the I, are very fast-paced, outgoing type of people. The left-hand side is more task-orientated, the D and C. The right-hand side is more people-oriented. So when we look at the letter D, these are fast-paced, task-oriented people. They like to ask the question, what? What are we going to do next? What needs to happen? What can I do? So when you're listening for these types of questions, you can quickly convert their behavioral style and accommodate or adapt to that connection that you're trying to do. So the I's like to say who's going to be involved. The S is how are we going to get it done? And the C is why. Why are we going to do it? And there you are, that 3-year-old who just keeps asking why.
Very
So
good.
when you know people, when you understand people, you can cater to their style very quickly.
And it's not rocket science. It's just an awareness, just an awareness.
That's right. Okay. Best practice. We're on the home stretch here, right? Best practices. 3 best practices that I've heard you say here.
Yes, understand before understood. Go into every conversation with a desire to learn something. And this is what I tell myself. Be interested,
Not interesting.
not interesting. And that helps me engage so much better. When I put myself, you got to get out of the way of yourself. And now really I'm looking in the mirror and talking to myself. Get out of the way of the conversation and let the magic happen. Be interested versus interesting.
And by asking questions is the great little tip or tool to have in your tool belt that will help you be interested. That'll help you truly understand whoever is talking to you.
Now, I don't want to overlook the importance of asking questions because, and I want you to capture this, okay? The power of connecting comes in the second question. Now, we're taught our whole lives, hey, how you doing today? What are you doing this weekend? And we do it at such a superficial level. So we'll role play real quick with Kathy and I. And I want you to capture this, okay? So Kathy, today's Wednesday. What are you doing this weekend?
Putting up Christmas decorations.
Do you love Christmas?
I do. I love Christmas.
What about Christmas that you love?
Oh, the decorations, the music, the food, the smell, the presents, the family.
Okay. So when I asked, what are you doing this weekend? I honestly didn't know what she was going to say, but it doesn't matter because I want to go into this as an inquisitive student. I wanted just to get to know her. And then the whole dynamic of our conversation changed once I asked her the second question, because it shows now I'm engaged in what she's saying. I asked that question. And now look at even my mannerisms kind of lean toward her.
Right.
And then it exponentially grows with every single question afterwards. You want to connect with your audience? Ask questions and then be interested, be present.
And telling stories is another way for you to connect. In the beginning, John shared the spaghetti story, him and Jake, and the miscommunication that happened there, or our travel story and how it's all connected back into the lesson today, but it does help you connect in with the people you're talking to as well.
So when we speak, I'm a fast talker. So I talk about 200 words per minute, which is pretty fast. Our listening speed can be up near 600. Our thinking speed is over 800 words per minute, which means as we're talking and you're interested and you're not out there multitasking, you're only using a fraction of your brain. What's the other 70 to 80% doing? You're thinking about your to-do list. Yes.
What we're doing this weekend.
I got to mow because of blah, blah, blah.
Unless you tell stories. And when you tell stories, you're engaging someone else's full brain because they're putting themselves there. They're in the moment with you. So the telling stories is going to truly connect on so many different levels.
It's almost like you're producing a movie on what someone is saying. You know, like when I was talking about the kitchen, I went to the cupboard. You probably imagine what my cupboards look like. That's the sauce of telling stories.
Right, right. So we've given you a little bit to really work on or really consider, really think about here. And we know that we've left you hanging on little things. Sorry, we only have like 1 more minute left. Corey, I'm going to pass it back over to you. And just keep in mind that there's so much more depth in everything related to communicating, connecting, behaviors, coaching, questions, all of the above. Corey definitely can help you connect with the right class that might be best for you and your team.
And Kirkwood's done such a great job offering these classes. So certainly, yeah, check with Corey.
So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. Check with Corey. We look forward to working with you all soon. Corey, back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kathy and John.